Hey, we saw another movie.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Was it Long Legs?
No, you would think it's just X-Men Origins Wolverine.
The greatest film to ever grace humanity.
I can't believe I even brought it up. It's so dumb. I feel like you tricked me.
All I knew
You mind manipulated me into bringing that movie up.
is Brett and I usually coordinate if we do cool videos like this.
Yeah.
And we both knew we would pick the best character. And clearly we didn't get the memo to each other.
Dude, just be honest. We both have Deadpool shirts that don't fit.
It's true. It's true. As a big Deadpool fan, I feel very upset that I don't have a Deadpool outfit.
Yeah, I wore this because I was like, Tim will definitely have a Deadpool shirt.
Yeah,
and
it was a
mine doesn't
great
fit.
thing to assume.
Yeah. What's even funnier is I'm pretty sure I stole this shirt from you.
Yeah, it was a Tim classic.
But
this one's just Wolverine hanging out.
I like that shirt, actually.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Can I have that when we're done with this?
Thief.
Worst brother ever. We saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Shink.
The third film in the
Snicket.
now Deadpool
Scrump.
trilogy.
Scrum.
No, I like Snicket.
Yeah.
Snicket.
Snicket night.
Snicket.
And this movie was freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And that's our review.
It's over. Go home.
Brett, right off the rip, let me ask you.
Ask me.
What'd you think?
Dude, I'm going to tell you what I think. Quick stop for anyone who is a regular podcast listener. This is unlike our podcast. This is not spoiler free. This will be riddled with spoilers.
So many things will be revealed.
Yeah.
So if you've seen the movie, if you don't want to see the movie, but for some reason want to watch us talk about it.
Right.
Or if you're from the future and, the movie doesn't exist, so you had to hear someone talk about it, this is your time. This is your time.
Why would it not exist in the future?
Because digital media dies and physical media rotted away.
I will remember you.
So they had to go back in time to find out one of their favorite movies. Or this video still exists on the internet.
I was going to say, isn't this digital media?
But YouTube video still exists.
So overall, I thought it was great.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I literally, what's crazy is so much happens in the movie that I'm thinking, it's not that crazy. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy. But you just said, what do you think? And everything that we just watched, we also just left the theater.
Yeah, we're fresh off the heels.
So it's real fresh.
Deadpool horse.
I will say it definitely... I don't know how much thought I put into what I expected from it.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the first one. I thought the second one was a great addition. And so I think for this one, I was just going in expecting to have fun. And that was pretty much it. I avoided any and all spoiler territory. So I really had no idea even what was going on story-wise. I just knew it was Deadpool and Wolverine. I was excited to see Hugh Jackman again. And that was pretty much it. So all of that to say, I don't know what my expectations were, but I'm pretty sure they were blown out of the water.
I think that is an accurate way to describe your feelings.
Yeah.
Because I also share those feelings. I did see a couple things, whether they were spoilers or cheeky nods to the movie that people were like, can you believe this happened and stuff? But I was still surprised. Even with the things I knew, it was done in a way that I didn't expect. Done with actors I didn't expect. It is what makes Marvel so fun. And also Disney just flaunting their billions of dollars to do all these things you would never expect to see in a movie. And they're like, oh, no, we did it. Here you go.
It's weird that this just popped into my head. And if you haven't seen the movie, this is going to sound crazy.
Yes.
But it felt like the freedom that the Chippendale movie operated in. I know that sounds nuts.
Dude, that's so true.
But seriously, that movie, there were no boundaries.
No.
There was no property that was like off limits. It was out of control. And this just felt, it's so weird how broken the fourth wall is. And it's so funny. So let me ask you, are there, I like to start with negatives if there are any, so we can always end on a positive note. So was there anything you felt either during the movie or afterwards that you're like, I kind of wish this was a little bit different, or left a bad taste in your mouth, anything like that?
Yeah, so I would say my biggest negative, because I don't think there were many, But I found the story to be not as strong, which is definitely something I've heard through the grapevine. And if you guys don't know the story, just a quick recap: Deadpool gets pulled from his universe to go be part of the main Marvel universe. They take him out, and he's like, "Hey, come join the main universe." But it does come at the cost of his universe being deleted, destroyed. And so it's all about him trying to save his own universe and prove his worth. Because he wants to feel like a real boy.
Like a real boy. But he doesn't want to do it alone. So he goes to he jumps many different universes to find the right Wolverine. And he gets his hands on one, which I don't know why. This is maybe stupid of me. But going in, I just assumed it was like the Wolverine we've known.
And that was one of the biggest questions, because like Logan's story ends at Logan.
Yeah.
You know, that Wolverine's
oh my gosh,
done.
what an opening sequence.
What an opening sequence. How it starts, oof.
We'll get to favorite moments.
Okay, because it'll be the whole movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you have anything else that like...
Yeah, to go back to my point, that story setup's cool. I think where it kind of falls apart is it feels pretty removed from the universe. They spend a lot of time in the void, and it leaves a lot of room for cameos and references and all over the place. So I like it for that. But yeah, I just expected more of a... like they're on Earth, they're in his universe or a different universe.
Yeah.
So for it to go somewhere else, which again, it's not a bad thing. It just felt like it took a direction I wasn't expecting.
It's kind of what Multiverse of Madness did.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, where it just gets you in a place where there aren't really any rules. So you can show whichever versions of characters, which is called out in the movie explicitly by Deadpool.
Yes.
So yeah, it does bring you to this kind of new place where it just feels like, all right, I guess we can do whatever here. Yeah, I feel that.
But yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed the story, but it was definitely one of the weaker points to me. What about you? What do you got for negatives?
I think obviously these are comedies. There were moments throughout the movie where we would get a serious beat on like Wolverine's story or even Deadpool's story. I say even because most of his moments are comedic, like exclusively.
That's because I like slapping fleshy things with this hand.
There were moments where I think we were taking a turn for the serious or more somber, and I was just waiting for it to be interrupted because it's so over the top jokey. Not a massive negative, like the flow of the movie doesn't get interrupted too much, and I mean, there were probably like 3 slow down dramatic moments in the entire movie. It's really just about like the fun and the action and the comedy. But those were moments where I was like, tone feels a little like not off, but just uncertain. Like this feels like we're chilling out for a minute, but
right. And we don't know if like Deadpool's going to crack a joke while they're having a serious conversation.
Right. And then when he doesn't, I'm almost like, all right, I guess I was supposed to like feel for him there for a minute. The only other thing was, there's not really a way that we do this, especially with this amount of it. But I don't love CGI blood.
Yeah.
And obviously, like there was just such an overt amount of it in this movie. Like I don't know how you would ever use anything but. But it's one of those like animations that you can still see the flow of it not being natural. You know what I mean?
It does like looks, I don't know, more coagulated because I think with a real blood splatter it's like quick, you know, it's just like psh, and you don't really see a lot, so you have to do it in a way where you can visualize it.
You see it like flow and it hovers a little
bit, lots of slow motion to probably make it look more congealed in the air and stuff.
And I should say I said I don't love CGI blood. It didn't like take me out of it or anything. Like the visuals in the movie are great. There was one. When what's her name, Nova, when she's doing the like hand thing through, I think it was through Wade's head. There was one moment where that looked really off.
I thought that looked good every time.
It was like the first time, and then I felt like it got better and better.
They got better with it the more they had to do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just I wasn't used to it yet because the first time she does it, I was like, "What is happening here?" But I noticed it because there's so much blood, and again, I say like. It's not that I don't like it or that it took me out of it, but I just prefer practical effects so much and think of how sick it would be if we had like Evil Dead levels of blood in the Deadpool movie.
Well, you got to think this is Marvel's first time like with such egregious amounts of blood.
I guess.
We've seen blood in movies.
Yeah, this was a lot. It had to have been more than the other two, right? I mean, the other two were pretty vicious, but this was...
Yeah, no, this felt like
this
the
was
next
hella
level.
violent. Yeah. which not to bring it up again, but I'm going to bring it up again. I guess Strange did that too. It was so violent in that whole midsection of the movie.
Yeah. But that one wasn't rated R.
No, it wasn't. Which I was surprised.
Yeah, that one felt like
There were a couple moments where it's like, ooh, how'd
Yeah.
you sneak a PG-13 out of this?
it's like, hold on.
Yeah. That's one note for anyone who's unaware. This is maybe the hardest R you could get out of a movie. It's insanely violent.
It is it's actually crazy how R-rated it is.
Yes.
How far they go with it.
No nudity,
No.
but very innuendous. If that's a
Yes.
word. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a word. But, so if you're easily offended or that's not for you, beware. But I mean, that's really it. I don't really have negatives outside of that because to me, it's just very clearly supposed to be a fun movie and it's extremely fun.
Fan service the movie, I would call it.
100% because like, and they say it like they're breaking the wall. I think that's almost a hack because them stating clearly through the script what they're doing just puts the audience on the same page as them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you mess that up? I mean, I'm sure it'd be possible, but to state like, we know you're here for this.
Right.
And then they just fight each other.
Right.
3 times when you know they can't die.
Right. So
You know,
they're just,
like-
it's just a cool fight.
Yeah.
Where obviously no one's going to win or lose.
But it's so cool to be like in it for the choreography. And that was one thing that stood out to me is the Deadpool fight choreography, like
Yes.
him in particular. Because, Wolverine's very cool, but it's a lot of hack and slash. Although bonus points for having him do like a lot of the animalistic stuff.
Yes.
The first time he charges Deadpool. How sick was that?
Oh my god.
It was so
everything.
dope.
And that's another point to bring up here is this is Marvel's potentially only take at Wolverine, right? Like if he doesn't come back, they could do new Wolverine stuff in the future.
Oh, it's all been Fox prior to this.
Yeah. This is Marvel's so far first and only take at Wolverine.
I did not even clock that.
Oh. Well, here we go.
Because that was the other thing that I thought this would come up later, but I guess it doesn't really matter. The whole thing feels like a nail in the coffin for the Fox Marvel universe, the final nail in the coffin, because they bring back, which this has got to be I don't know if it's my second favorite thing about the movie over like the fights. No, it has to be the first. The cameos in this were
Off the wall.
unprecedented.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm going to bring it up a third time, but the cameos in Doctor Strange were so cool because they're characters we were waiting to see, and you wondered if they were signs of things to come, but then there were also callbacks. Was that one of the first crossovers with an X-Men character with I guess we won't spoil, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Doctor Strange. And as you're saying it, my brain was like, what is he talking about? And it all clicked. I was like, oh, yeah.
You remember like the board or whatever?
Right,
Who are they?
The Hall of Heroes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing with that is it was such a big moment for the future of Marvel. Which, I mean, it didn't really do anything ultimately.
It didn't.
But I think it showed that the multiverse stuff, you can do a lot.
Right.
You can do a lot, and they can pull from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so this movie just confirmed it more. But I think also kind of ended it. Ended the Fox era, the early Marvel, and that includes Elektra, Blade, even canceled movies.
Canceled movies,
That never even got. I don't even know if there was any filming for it.
For Gambit.
Yes.
So the first one, I think the first big cameo was Chris Evans, right?
Yes. Which
That
the
might
layers
be,
to that is insane.
That might be my favorite moment in the movie because of the way they did it. And your mind is not even thinking about the fact that he used to be Human Torch.
Yeah.
And it's just done so perfectly the way he puts his arm out and you see the blue and red and you're like, no way.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
then he
they
lands and
can't
you
do
see
this.
just enough of his face to be like, oh, he's Cap. And then he does the flame on and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, this is insane.
It's such a crazy because we never expected to see him in the MCU again.
No.
Not well. I mean, it's just the layers to it because you're like, he's not Cap, but he's still Chris Evans, who played Johnny Storm in a different era of Marvel history. And the fact that he was Johnny Storm, it was just so cool.
And then later they bring in Blade, which is, I still love the Blade movies so
Yes.
much. I haven't watched Trinity in forever, but the fact that Ryan Reynolds was in Blade Trinity is such a cool moment. And then having Electro was like the weird. It took me a minute. I was like, "Is that freaking Electra?" That's out of control. I don't even know if I ever saw that movie.
Me neither.
I saw Daredevil.
Yep.
Multiple times.
Now
but-
I'm gonna go watch Elektra.
Yeah, I kind of want to
Fill the void now.
Yeah. But then when Channing Tatum comes out as Gambit, it's so well done, and it's another thing where it's like playing into the joke. Like you can't lose. Like you're all on the same page.
Right.
and-
It's like they have no problem poking fun at themselves,
Right.
poking fun at everything. It's incredible what they get away with, but again, it's them. They're making fun of themselves a lot of the time.
That's the other thing is like self-deprecation. It's hard to lose with that when you do it right. And I will say another thing that I was so stoked on is we get all the Deadpool and Wolverine fights.
Yep.
But they did not waste those cameo characters.
No.
They all did something super sick.
Yep. Yeah, with Blade specifically, I noticed he killed someone with a stake, and they died as the vampires do. Like they fade away in ashes. And
Yeah.
I was like, the attention to detail, because he could have just easily like slit their throats, chop off their heads, whatever. But yeah, the fact that they all like got their attacks in relative to how they were in their original movies was just really cool.
Yeah, and Gambit's like the way he fought, and they gave him some highlight moments, which I was so stoked about because I always felt like the Gambit in Origins was such a bummer. And
They should have brought all the Origins
dude, I'll
characters
never
back.
forget him helicoptering off the top of the building. It's insane.
So good.
It is crazy
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah, so I was just really stoked in that fight near the end where they were all getting like a shining moment. It wasn't just a quick cameo and then they were out. Like we
And-
got to see them fight.
The only thing, and it's not even like a negative point, but how did X-23 get there? Because if they were all displaced from their worlds, how come she was? Because the other ones make sense because their worlds were dying. I guess because Logan...
Did she say? I forget.
No, she didn't say. All the other ones were just like, our world forgot about us, or
Right.
we were going to be threats, so we got taken out.
That's right. She kind of just walks in.
Yeah.
Why is she there?
Because, I don't know.
If you guys know, please leave a comment and let us know.
Because Deadpool wasn't removed from his universe for being seen as a threat, but he also wasn't Deadpool anymore. At the
Right.
beginning, he chooses to not be Deadpool anymore because he didn't get accepted into the Avengers.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. That was the only thing I was like, why is she there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to see them back together, her and Logan. And we didn't even talk about Wolverine in this is pretty complex.
Yeah.
I feel like, they could have gotten any kind of Wolverine, but they picked one where a lot went bad in his world. I don't know if it's as bad as what happened in Logan's world, though.
Yeah, I don't
or
know.
Deadpool's world, I guess.
Yeah, or the Avengers in Civil War. Or no, I guess it was Age of Ultron, which was the one with the really bad thing,
Age of Ultron.
and then that caused Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad thing.
That was pretty bad.
You guys should read Civil War; it's so good. You should watch it too. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if you read it, it's got everything we're talking about in it. And we're back. Yeah, I think what was really cool about this Wolverine is seeing Hugh Jackman essentially play a different kind of Wolverine.
Yes.
It's sort of what we see at the beginning of X-Men, the original X-Men, but way amplified because he's lost everything.
Yes.
In a really terrible way.
Which that happens a lot to Wolverine.
Yeah, dude, that's his whole
That's his thing.
yeah, he's a tragedy, a walking tragedy.
But it is amazing what they do with him. They give him the suit, obviously.
Yep.
The classic suit.
Oh, nice.
Right?
See?
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Suit boys.
We did it.
We did it.
That was another amazing thing about this movie. There were so many like splash page or like freeze frame moments. They didn't literally freeze frame it, but like him pulling up the cowl at the end was so cool. And the whole movie, you don't know it's there. And all of the Deadpools. Also, some of the jokes, like everything with Nice Pool, I thought was so funny.
Because Ryan Reynolds, I mean, the thing you feel during the whole movie is you feel like they just gave Ryan Reynolds as much money as he wanted.
Yeah.
Not that he was the only one who worked on it, but there's so much just like quick jokes and references, and it was just a movie that felt like everybody really wanted to make it.
Right.
And there was a lot of passion in the sense of like even the history, like when all the Deadpools, there's a big Deadpool fight at the end, and all the different Deadpools from so many different comics. They could have just done a million copy and paste suits.
Right.
But there were so many different variants.
Yep. Question about that scene at the end. So it's a massive, very cool side-scrolling fight with Wolverine and Deadpool versus the Deadpool army, which also, where we saw that fight style recently was in Mutant Mayhem, the Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah.
Which that was like one of my favorite.
Dude, it's the old boy shot.
Oh, it's so good.
That's what it is.
Yeah, okay, that answers my question. I was just going to say, did Zack Snyder invent that with 300? Because I'll never forget that slow motion side scrolling shot of them just like
fighting.
Yeah, and it looks so cool.
Yep.
And since then we've had this. We've had actually in Age of Ultron, there's kind of a shot like that.
Yeah, it's used in so many things.
Yeah.
It might have happened before Old Boy. I just know it as the Old Boy shot.
Yeah.
Where it's just like one shot, and they're just going down the hallway slowly as they're beating the crap out of everything.
It's also used in Kung Fury. If you're unfamiliar, highly recommend. Tell me you've watched Kung Fury.
Yes, I actually really wanted to watch it again recently.
It's so good, dude. It's that high recommend. Yeah, so that was really great. Like you said, there were Easter eggs throughout. Like, if you're a fan of the comics, and especially, I mean, you need to be pretty familiar with all of Marvel's stuff to really enjoy everything in this.
Even more so than just the cinematic universe.
Yeah,
because you have to go back and watch all the Fox stuff,
and you kind of forget this is such a weird like crossover between real life studios.
Yes. Right, like even to the point where the 20th Century Fox logo is in the movie as like part of the background.
Yeah, like they have to be in on the joke or paid enough to be in on the joke.
Yeah,
but
I wonder if the Gambit cameo is going to be lost to time. Like people who go back and they're like, where the heck's the Gambit movie? Like, what's this guy?
That's a really good point.
Because that's quite, I wouldn't say it's obscure. It probably will eventually be obscure.
Yeah.
But it's not as easy to access like the older Marvel movies are.
Right.
Because that is a character from a movie that didn't happen.
Right.
And even like, I don't even know all the details. All I know is he was trying real hard to make it and it didn't get finished or filmed or.
That is very interesting.
So it's really like deep, crazy lore.
Yeah, it's almost like how anytime there's a meme in a movie, I guess I didn't know I was going to bring up the Chip and Dale movie again, but Ugly Sonic appears in that movie.
Yep.
Sorry, slight spoiler for the
Chip and Dale movie.
That's like what happens in 10 years when someone's watching that and they're like, what? It'll still be funny, but they won't have the origin of like the meme-ified bad Sonic.
Let's talk about the soundtrack for a minute.
Oh, man.
The music was used so perfectly.
It's so funny, and it almost feels like something that should get old because they're using these like over-the-top pop songs that everybody knows for all of their most brutal fight scenes.
Which show up in a lot of movies.
Yes,
movies and media, and like they're not like unknown songs or anything
No,
like
of course
that.
not.
But yeah, they were just used so expertly.
I mean, probably 3 or 4 times we get NSYNC, we get Madonna. I think we got Like a Prayer twice in like 2 different contexts.
Yeah, there's the one where they go to fight all the Deadpools, and then at the end when they're like holding hands.
That's right. And there was a third one. I forget what was the other one. Was it a pop song or was it
from Madonna?
I don't know if it was Madonna, but
Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne, that's the one.
So
yeah,
good. When
that
they're
was
driving.
super funny, dude.
That part was crazy because it was just like a car commercial.
Yes, I know.
But they crapped all over the car. Like Deadpool was talking about how awful it was. So I'm like, I don't know what kind of ad
but
this
he takes
is.
it back later.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, I take it all back.
I take it all back. But it is. It's like it's one of the weirdest scenes because it feels like an ad.
Yeah.
It's like the angles of the car driving and the nice vista.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on here? But it's all a joke at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's anything that feels over the top is just like, oh, this is a joke.
Yeah.
So it feels like everything lands. There were a few moments, and maybe this goes along with my initial like semi-criticism where it's like so jokey that I guess I'm taking back what I said a second ago. There are a couple things that don't land super hard.
Yeah. I think you get that when there's so many jokes. I mean, not everyone can hit.
Right, exactly. I will say we alluded to it, but the opening sequence where he's digging up Logan's bones and he assumes he's going to regenerate, and it's very funny because you think they're going to undo what they do in Logan.
Right.
And
because knowing he's in the movie,
Yeah, and you're kind of with it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, like
I guess that makes sense.
you're right. Yeah, regeneration, whatever. And it plays into like someone like me who had the expectation of it's just the Hugh Jackman's Wolverine we've always known.
Yep.
And then the craziest opening fight sequence,
So good.
using his skeleton while also performing "Bye Bye Bye" by NSYNC. It was so funny. I was like dying laughing, and the first time, that's the first main fight choreography we see, and it's out of control. And it's similar, I guess. I actually forget how they opened the second one, but the first one has the fight scene in the car.
In the car, yeah. The second one,
Do they not start it with like a big crazy title sequence like that?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Or is it like in an office or something? Why am I picturing that? Maybe I'm thinking of Wanted.
That does start in an office. We'll have to look it up.
Isn't that Chris Pratt that gets hit in the face with the keyboard?
I think so, yeah.
How weird is that?
That is super weird.
Dude, remember when Professor Xavier slapped Star-Lord in the face with a keyboard?
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's a deep cut for you guys.
That is. That's a good one. And what do you think of the villain?
I'm not familiar with her.
I know very little, if nothing. I would probably say nothing, but I have heard of her before.
Okay.
I know she exists.
I expected her. There was a moment of unjustified disappointment, I'll call it, because up until that point, every single reveal of a character was like, oh my gosh, even some peripherals like Toad, Sabretooth.
Yep.
So when she walked out and they panned up, I was like, oh, it's someone I don't know. Which is like, I mean.
They kind of do a fake out because it's like they're in a wheelchair and you're
Yes.
like, oh, it's going to be
Yeah.
Xavier? What the heck?
Right. Which that would have been wild too.
Yeah.
But I thought she was cool. I liked her attitude. You know who I thought it was going to be? I forget her name, but oh my gosh, I can't remember the actress's name.
Tilda Swinton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to be her?
I did. Yep. I did. Mostly because she's bald.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, which would have been a weird choice, and I'm glad it wasn't because
I feel like she would have been too threatening, too powerful. If
Well-
you turn her into a villain.
yeah, but I mean, what's her face? Her name was Nova, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was obviously like
Her powers. But yeah, with her level of powers, I feel like she could have destroyed them at any point, but she was more so playing a game.
Yeah.
It felt like.
it was a little playful.
She did like the villain thing where it's like, oh, I could end them all right now,
Right.
but instead get eaten by the big monster.
Yeah, and even the moment where like they release her.
Yeah.
That felt it was a little he's like, Xavier would want you to live. And so he does it and she actually makes good on like letting them leave.
Yeah. And then they, spoiler alert, kill her later anyways. So.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not kill her. She gets deleted, I guess, from the timeline.
Yeah, she does.
Big
I
time.
mean, she pretty much explodes.
Yeah, it's true.
Pretty sure she's
So, as someone who didn't see Loki season 2,
Yeah.
did you feel like there was anything you were missing, or were you lost on anything?
I didn't feel that way. I assume Paradox
No,
appears.
he's new. No.
Oh, he's new, okay.
The only thing is the they made some references to what happens to the TVA ultimately in Loki season 2.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen Loki season 2, I won't say, but there are changes that happen, and I am curious if the TVA is going to be as big across the universe from this point on, because they show up in a lot of things now.
Right.
And so yeah, but as far as like what you need to watch up until this point, up until like this movie, it would be very good to watch all the X-Men movies, the Fox era Marvel mostly.
Which is so weird.
Right. Like instead of going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although there is a couple like obviously references to it and it's a big part of the whole story, but yeah mostly I would say the Fox era Marvel movies, X-Men, Elektra, Blade, just to get a feeling for the characters, and Deadpool 1 and 2.
I do wish the Sabretooth cameo was a little bit more.
Yes.
But I knew as soon as Deadpool gave Wolverine that whole speech on like how to deal with him, I was like, he's gonna kill him immediately.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing is like a lot of these other older movies had to kind of pull back on the violence and killing, and all these characters were expendable because they're never going to be in anything again. We say, but who knows?
So I was gonna ask you, do you feel like the ending and the post credits where they play, Green Day's what is it, graduation song? Yeah.
Time of your life.
Yeah. over any montage is just tears.
It's so good.
It tears your heart into pieces, and you're like, okay, everyone in this montage is dead.
Yeah.
Because that's all this could mean. It's so sad. It was weird seeing how young they were. Seeing
Yes.
Hugh Jackman
Because
on the set.
I only imagine him how he looks now.
Right,
for
same.
older Wolverine too, like
Right.
X-Men, the original and stuff. So yeah, they were really young.
It was crazy. So they play this montage of behind the scenes footage from the Fox era Marvel stuff, and there's also that moment on the bench where Deadpool's like, "So I'll see you around," and Wolverine's like, "Probably not."
Yeah.
You think that's it? We're done with Wolverine. We're done with Fox. Yeah. So,
but then he comes back,
huh?
and then he comes back.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then, because that would be a place to end it, and then he's like, come meet my friend. So I do still see that as like,
Remember when I forgot the last 5 minutes of the movie?
Brad, I told you fall asleep at some point.
I didn't fall asleep, bro. I was wide awake.
But yeah, no, I don't think, I don't know. If we see Wolverine come back, he'll be used for Secret Wars or Avengers movie or something like that.
Because Deadpool did throughout the whole thing keep referencing like
90 years.
till you're 90 years
You're
old.
90.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, he's never explicitly said this was it. I mean, he quit the character before,
Yeah.
and came back, which I assume, which was for a ton of money. Also, he probably loves playing the character, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past him to not show up as like a cameo or whatever in the future.
What do you think the next thing we see of Deadpool is?
They're really pushing for Deadpool to be like part of the Avengers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, that was the whole like premise of the movie, is he wanted to be an Avenger. So I don't know, because he'll have to be pulled back as far as censorship.
Of course.
Can't
yeah.
imagine they'll do an R-rated Avengers movie.
I think
but who knows?
I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I think the way to do that is legitimately censor him with beeps.
That would be pretty funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
And
they could
him
pull
get
it off.
mad about it.
Yeah.
Like in the movie.
Right, fourth wall, be like, you're censoring me? Yeah. They could, he would be great too, like a great asset to
Oh,
everything. So I don't know. I would love to see Hugh Jackman back.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is the end, it's as good as Logan. I think Logan's a very sad, like brutal way to go, but a great ending. But I also feel like this, not even the ending sense, just like that he got to do everything we wanted from Wolverine.
Yeah. Right.
We've
That's a good point.
We've seen it all. We've seen all the Logans. We've seen.
Yeah, more of a like real world satisfaction that he
Yes.
got to come back, reprise his role as the character, and go nuts.
Right, with the costume, with pure violence, like, and that's what Logan stepped into, is the R-rated side of things.
Right,
But, yeah, so it was all around just awesome.
I think my favorite fourth wall breaking was Wolverine does something and Deadpool immediately turns it into a joke about him checking him out or something. And he very quickly goes, "I'm telling Blake."
Yeah.
Like that is the most broken fourth wall
Oh my
ever
God.
in cinema history.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Everything about it. Now, I want a cut of the movie with all the ads as well.
With
there
all
were,
the ads?
There were, so many like crossover ads, and like at the beginning of the movies, they had the, not of this one, but they had the silence your cell phone ads. They had the beer commercial. Like there's so much Deadpool and Wolverine content outside of the movie. You could
Yeah.
probably get an extra 20 minutes. So I'd like to see a version with all of those spliced in as
Yeah.
like part of the movie.
That would be pretty cool.
Because it feels like it's just like, I don't even feel like I'm watching an ad when I see those.
Right. I know. Now I feel like I can freely scroll social media, so
Yes,
maybe I'll
that
see
is-
some of the ads you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool. They came out before the movie, but yeah, there was like one for Heineken or something.
I did see that one.
Yeah.
I was literally nervous to watch anything.
Right,
So
because you
afraid.
didn't know what a spoiler was
Yeah.
for it anyways. But yeah, I think we tackled everything we want to talk about. It is
Feel
just
good about it.
It's such a joyride. It is a good send off for the Fox movies, whether you love them or hate them.
Yeah.
That's what this movie's about.
It does feel nice to have it wrapped up because there is a certain charm to that era of the movies. They were trying. It was a trial and error time, but I mean, we got the Spider-Mans during that time. The X-Men movies, obviously. Daredevil, I remember thinking was fun at the time. I know in retrospect, it's not like
I still like it.
it's not great. There's some funny moments, but
Yeah.
there's a novelty and charm to them. And I remember thinking the first Fantastic Four that Chris Evans was the best part of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't awful. And I legitimately, now it's been many years since I went back and watched it, but I thought Rise of Silver Surfer, is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think so. Rise of the Silver
I think it was
Surfer.
Rise of something. I remember thinking that movie was pretty good.
Yeah.
But who knows? Either way, my point is it's kind of cool to have like a ribbon tied around those things with the return of those characters is out of control. Very cool. I would say it's a keeper.
Snick it.
Snicked.
Sping. Blah, blah.
I want to play Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and play as Deadpool, Wolverine, and X-23.
That's a cool team now. It's even cooler.
It is cooler now.
Yeah, it's totally a keeper. I mean, I can't think of a reason not to watch it unless you're squeamish, but drink some pure, unfiltered pool water, and then you'll enjoy the movie.
I guess that could help.
You know? Actually,
What?
one final thing I want to say.
Yeah.
Don't bring your children to this movie.
Do not bring your children.
Do not. I feel like it's a movie that a lot of people might think is good for kids. It is.
At this point, they should know, but
Yeah. But it is. Do you think we'll see any more R-rated films come from Marvel now? Because I know we got Echo, which is TVMA.
it depends for what. I think we'll see more for violence.
But I can't imagine anybody else or any other, like, maybe X-Men, but there's not a real reason
Yeah,
for
like
it.
the language is super over the top. Like if I'm being fully honest, the over the top like gross sexual humor is not my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
The, them like getting and it doesn't always cross that line. But I can't imagine that working for many other characters or any other characters.
Yeah, I think Deadpool is the only one they could get away with.
Yeah. And it's the only one, I guess it's the only one who makes sense, like character-wise.
Wolverine would be the only other one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, and he's just angry all the time.
Yep.
He needs full free reign of the F word at all times.
Yeah.
And then, and I think violence. Like, I'm really hoping the Blade movie is rated R.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the status is of that. It's been like pushed back, and I don't know. Wesley Snipes says in the movie at one point, "I'm the only Blade there will be," and then there's kind of a nod to the camera by Deadpool. So I was really stoked about Mahershala Ali's Blade. So
I hope that happens.
me too. I'm hoping we get that. I hope that's R-rated so it can be a little bit bloody and scary. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they've seen it can work, and we've talked about this back in the day when they were coming out. But the Netflix Marvel shows were some of the best stuff.
And
they
we're
did.
seeing some of those characters bleed into this cinematic universe.
Yeah, right. Yep. So here's hoping that if it better serves the character in the story, that they're not cautious about giving it an R rating and letting it do what it needs to do. That's what I would say. Because Kingpin, for instance, and Daredevil, I don't think would have felt like the threat he felt like without the ability for them to write him as an absolutely ruthless killer.
Yes. Doing
example.
some crazy murders and
Just
stuff.
car door. All I can ever think of is the car door.
Brutal.
Sounds so squishy. Anyways, let us know what you thought of the movie.
Yes.
And I guess that's it. We got anything else?
No, we're going to go eat some chimichangas and go talk to Dogpool.
That dog's tongue was out of control.
It was crazy.
Hey, new podcast every single week. If you're interested and you're not listening yet, do it. If you dug the video, give it a like. If you want to hang out with us more, hit subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. Love you. See you later. Bye.
Deadpool.
Maximum effort.